right, well, let's get going. It's 7:01, so want to make sure we're being mindful of everyone's time. So this is District 214. Of course, I clicked too early. Um, District 214 College and Career Night. And we're going to go ahead and talk about information technology and the cybersecurity pathways. Um, so joining us tonight is myself. I'm the Career and Technical Education Division Head at Prospect High School. And then we got a great group of panelists here, and we're going to go ahead and let them go ahead, introduce themselves and then give us a little bit of an elevator pitch on themselves. We can start at the top and work our way down.
Okay. My name is Scott Bell. I'm the director of the St. Benedict Technology Consortium. We are a nonprofit. We do IT support for other nonprofits, schools, churches, other things in that vein throughout Lake and Cook County. So we are doing direct IT support, network management, IT security, certainly, as a portion of that.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Drunt. I'm a teacher at Rolling Meadows High School. Myself and Tom, who's going to introduce himself in a couple minutes, have been teaching in this pathway for quite a while, over 20 years, teaching not only the IT, but recently, probably within the last, what would you say, 7 or 8 years, cybersecurity we added. So it's we've been doing this for quite a while.
Tom Polak. I teach at John Hersey High School. Just like Mike said, this is my 30th year in the district, but we've been teaching the IT pathway as well as cybersecurity for quite a long time. We've been working in this field, especially with the community colleges and the colleges, to make sure that we're teaching the programs and the things that kids need as they move ahead.
All right, I'm Tirth Patel. I'm a junior at Prospect High School, and I've done various of internships through District 214, which I'll talk about later on.
Hi, my name is Henderson. I'm from Rolling Meadows High School, and I got the apprenticeship the beginning of this year. And I'm working for CCS Technology Group. So I'm from the District 214 too, and later on I'll be talking more about myself too.
Sorry, forgot I muted there. Thanks for joining us. And thanks to all the participants that hopped on here as well. So we're going to begin real quick by going over the two different pathways. And as the teachers are going to do a great job explaining, even better than myself because of their, I'm going to say their experience here. You will see some overlap, but they will kind of cover all that for us. So we are going to go ahead and start with infotech and network systems.
Mike, go ahead and you take the IT pathway.
All right. So for the IT pathway, essentially we have a full 4-year curriculum. If you count the apprenticeship in the 4th year. The first year, the students have the ability to take IT fundamentals, college IT fundamentals, and then part of A+, which would be the operating systems course. All of these courses in the pathway, one of the nice things is that they all qualify for college credit. So not only are we prepping the students to pass industry certification exams for each of the classes that we teach, but each one of them is also getting college credit. The second year, they continue on the A+, but this time we shift from operating systems to hardware. And then in second semester, we cover networking. And basically, it's the intro to networking kind of basics. And then the third year, we do an advanced networking cybersecurity course. We focus mainly on cybersecurity, but also some advanced networking concepts. And then in that 4th year, and Henderson's going to talk a little bit about that as well, the students have the opportunity to work in the apprenticeship through the District 214.
And then, so I'll talk about the pathway that we have with regards to cybersecurity. And this would be, at least as a part of the district's pathway, is more computer science based. You have computer programming, mobile apps, and development and networking. They do focus primarily on program development. They touch on networking just a little bit in that entry level class. And then you go into AP computer science principles, as well as mobile app development too. That then leads into AP computer science, and then college cybersecurity and mobility. And then, as the pathway says, it goes into the apprenticeship. What I want to kind of emphasize is, depending on the type of student that you are, there's a hardware path and a software path. The programming obviously is going to be more software based. If you're a kid who loves coding, then that software pathway may be better for you. But I still encourage a little bit of hardware, taking that IT fundamentals, operating systems, maybe even computer hardware and networking. If you are a hands-on type of kid, then you definitely start with the IT fundamentals, the A+ software, hardware, and networking, because you're going to play with actual equipment. We have industrial routers and switches. You're going to have hands-on experiences, again, if you're that type of kid. Both pathways should take something from the other side. So if you're taking the hardware pathway, you need to take a programming class. You need to understand that that's going to lead you into the cybersecurity field no matter what. If you take all software, you need some hardware understanding, especially networking, because the programming that you're putting together is going to be pushed through networks, and you have to have a good knowledge of how networks operate to be able to understand how to secure everything, including the data itself. So you have two options between us, Mike and I. Mike's at Meadows, I'm at Hersey. Basically, the opportunities are there at those schools, as well as some of the other schools offer more software-based programming. That's going to be dependent upon the schools that you have. The last thing I want to emphasize is that if the program is not offered at your high school, you have the ability to travel. The district will transport you from your home school to the school that is closest, so that you can participate in a program that's not available in your building.
To quickly add just one thing, I'm sorry, Seth.
We're good.
To Tom's point is one of the other things that we offer are some extracurricular activities for the students. Our students, most of our students, I know we have like 3 teams. I know Tom has typically between 4 or 5. A Cyber Patriot program. So the students essentially, it's through the Air Force. And it's basically, they give them images, and essentially what they're trying to do is find all the vulnerabilities within those images. And it's a competition. It's a nationwide competition. There's typically about 4,500 teams. And we've had a lot of success in the past, both Tom and myself, with Cyber Patriot. And then typically, I don't know if Tom does it in the fall, but my students in the spring will then also compete in the National Cyber League, which is more of not only trying to kind of be defensive, but it's a little offensive as well, learning how to kind of find vulnerabilities, not only to protect them. So,
yep.
That was a great addition. And just so everyone here is very clear, the pathways, this is the ideal pathway. We understand that interests change, and you may not be able to fit something in 1 year because of another. So again, these are all the ideal pathways, but they are very fluid. And like Mr. Drent said, if we don't offer the class in, let's say, a Prospect, you can go and travel to one of these schools to take the course with our other great teachers throughout the district. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and jump in here I'm gonna make the students suffer a little first and let them kind of get going here. So let's start with Trent from Prospect. What courses did you find most helpful in this pathway?
So I'm more of a software guy. So going off with what Mr. Pollack said, I took Intro to Programming and AP Computer Science. It really helps you build your fundamentals before going off at an internship. And so, for example, if you're at an internship and it uses a specific language, by taking those courses, you know your prior knowledge and functions and systems it's very beneficial to know, because no matter what language you go into, you'll know what to do. And it's easy to understand if you know one language at least.
Very true. All right, Henderson, same question to you. What course did you find the most helpful that prepared you for this pathway or with this pathway?
Well, I would say I had two classes, right? The IT fundamentals and A plus hardware. I think each one of them has its individual knowledge that you can take out of, which will help you a lot once you are into the apprentice program. Because um just knowing each part of the computer is just not a base for you, but once you get there, you're even able to, think in a different way of even if you have to do troubleshooting. Or so for me, a really good class would be the A plus hardware, in which it gets the IT fundamentals and just put it all together for the type of apprenticeship I'm doing right now.
And to speak on Seth's point really quick, I'm sorry I keep jumping in here, Seth.
Oh, I love it.
Henderson has a really unique story. He just came to the United States less than 2 years ago, and he was actually in my IT fundamentals, but he was in EL IT fundamentals, and he had a lot of interest in the area, and so as we were kind of talking about that non-traditional pathway to the apprenticeship, he wasn't offered those classes as a freshman or sophomore because he came to us his junior year, but he had an interest, so we were able to kind of set him up with the apprenticeship, and he's taking some of those courses now. So even if you decide to kind of do it a little bit later or earlier, it doesn't mean that you have to kind of follow this path, but you can still kind of land in the apprenticeship. And Henderson, I've been talking a lot with people who are running the program. He's doing wonderful, and where he's at, and they really enjoy having him in there, and he's learning a lot. So
Oh, that's great. Yeah, feel free to chime in anytime. This is the better we can make this for everyone. I'm happy. So let's go to Mr. Bell. We just heard from our high school students, and how can a high school student begin to prepare for a career in your field?
So I mean, the experiential stuff is absolutely critical. I work with CompTIA all the time, right? Doing the I actually advise them on the fundamentals course, right? So the fact is that it is certificate driven, right? It's awesome to go to school, it's awesome to have a degree in it, but if you are starting at the end of college, you are 3, 4, 5 years of experience behind the folks who were doing this in high school, right? And any experience counts, right? This is my pitch, of course, is work with nonprofits, right? Come work with SBTC for a summer. We have interns. We had 4 or 5 interns this past summer. We have interns throughout the year. We have college interns who are doing stuff with us. But even if it's not SBTC, I virtually guarantee that every nonprofit in the community, every small organization, every church, every lodge, every small entity like that has some computers, and nobody is really helping them, or nobody is formally assisting them with stuff. That counts as real work, right? And so you can go and say, look, I volunteered, but if you talk about what you did, I set up their network, I set up their wireless, I set up a server for them, I managed their accounts, I did their email, right? All of these things are stuff that high school students are perfectly capable of doing, right? And nobody is demanding that you get it done in a day or an hour, right? You can take your time, you can learn. Nonprofits are great, particularly when they're building up capacity, because if they say, we think it's time we had a server, well, they're willing to wait, right, for you to figure that out and learn about it. But then you can advertise, I built an organization from essentially nothing, or from 10-year-old technology, and I made that all current. And that was me. And then when you go sit for an interview with, an actual job in college that is paying you, or a job after college, or whatever the case may be, you say, actually, all the things you're asking me about, I've done before, perhaps multiple times, perhaps across many years. And so, absolutely do these real, authentic, whether they are internships, whether they are volunteering, because this is experience and certificate driven. Demonstrate what you can do. The fact is that I have people who apply all the time who are like, oh yeah, I was a waiter and I did this other thing and I have this awesome degree from DePaul, whatever. And it's a wonderful program, but I'm like, but when was the last time that you built a computer? And they say, oh, I don't do that, right? But show us that, and that is the entry to success.
I'll piggyback just a little bit on what you just said. So as part of a District 214 program, students in our classes have the opportunity to take the CompTIA exams. The district buys the first voucher for your first attempt. So the district is offering these tests in essence for free for students that are interested and prepared. And no question, there's opportunities out there. I've established a relationship with River Trails School District. Every summer they reach out to me and I send 2 or 3 students to work for them over the summer, doing exactly what you're suggesting, getting hands-on experience, helping the school district prepare for the next school year. Yeah, it's a little busy work, but they're learning along the way things that they would never learn otherwise.
Well, Mr. Pollock, you kind of took me into the next thing I was going to ask anyway, was what content or skills, and I know you talked about CompTIA, anything else that students are exposed to within this pathway that you see as beneficial?
Absolutely. Couple of different things that I would lead you to. Number one, as part of our networking component, we use Cisco's Netacad. So this is Cisco's real world adult-based content and curriculum that could lead potentially to CCNA certifications. So we don't take them through all 3, but we take them through 2 or 3 courses that they can then complete in college if they chose to, or outside of college. That allows us to play with Cisco routers and switches. They're configuring, they're setting them up, they're programming them, they're setting networks up. So they're getting those types of real world experiences from that standpoint. We have some computers what they can play with. And then we also, further down the cybersecurity pathway, we have a relationship with Moraine Valley Community College, which gives us access to something called NetLabs Plus, which is, again, it's simulations, but these are real world simulations where students are setting up servers. They're creating attacks from one side to the other. It's called a sandbox that they get to play in, but they're experiencing as many real world experiences as they can as part of the curriculum. And again, we're leading them towards the college. I've had students go on to Purdue, to DePaul, to some of the leading cybersecurity programs because they've gone through the pathways, they've been exposed, and they're ready to continue their skill set into the next level. Plus, they're passing some of these certifications in high school. These are certifications kids after college are taking and passing. And so we have a few that have these in their back pocket even before they leave high school. Or they're students that don't see college as an option and want to go into the working world. And this lends itself to giving them the opportunity to get those interviews to prove that they have the skill set to be given the opportunity.
Mr. Trent, is there anything you'd like to add on to that?
No, Tom kind of touched on pretty much, what we cover in the courses. And it's interesting because, as, the field has evolved, it used to be pretty much all take apart, tear apart, and because of the fact that now, a lot of it is throwaway. It's been interesting to try to, make sure that we kind of get the kids ready for kind of what they're going to see in the real world and what they're going to be doing. And so it's been kind of a change, and we're constantly trying to modify the curriculum to make sure it's things that the kids are going to see. And I know, having Henderson, we've had a lot of conversations about, with his internship, kind of what are the different things that he's seeing, and we're trying to kind of touch on a lot of those things as we kind of go along. So I ask him, like, hey, give me some scenarios that you guys are are, you might encounter at work. And then what we're trying to do is simulate as many of those things in school so that they can get used to that and have that knowledge and that experience. So when they go out, they're well equipped to do those things.
Well, Mr. Drent and Mr. Pollock, you guys probably can I can probably get off this. You guys keep leading us to the next question. I was going to go to
I'm sorry.
Henderson. It's all right. That means we're flowing a little bit. That's good. Henderson, so can you just talk to us a little about your apprenticeship and how it's related back and what I'm gonna say you've taken from that, but also how you have applied what you learned from Mr. Drent?
Sure. So once I got into getting classes with Mr. Drant, right? So I started in IT fundamentals, and I would say that every single thing that I work on today, so they try to make as possible as I can, like, for me to be in each area a little bit so I can see what I like more and what I would like to have as a path, right? So I would say, especially now that there are days that I go to work in the apprenticeship and they put me to build a computer, for example, or to fix a computer that is not working really well. So right now, even if I need to open a computer, I would know how to troubleshoot in a way that I know each component, what it really does. Or either just helping even into, securing even a file, or helping even in a help desk. One thing that I noticed, especially in class, that it brought a lot to my apprenticeship is the ways that companies from, especially IT, right, they work. So if they work with ticketing systems and most things like that. So especially the company I work, we use the ticketing system, in which I learned a lot with Mr. Drant's class. So I would say this would be most of the reality. When I started working, I already knew what was actually going on.
Awesome. Trent, same question to you. Talk about your internship and how your classes before, and then also what you're learning in that.
Okay, so I've done 2 internships so far. I have an internship coming up at Hersey called Hersey Developers. And over the summer, I did this internship with Argonne National Laboratory. And I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I took AP Computer Science, which taught me Swift. That's the language we operate on. And I went to Argonne, and it turned out to be Python. And I had no idea how to code in Python. And I was like, oh no. But when I went for the first day, I realized that there are a lot of similarities between the two. And it got easier by the day. I created small projects that Argonne users could use. I've made projects for nuclear research there as well. And I also did an internship at National Inventors Hall of Fame, which I taught little kids about STEM. And that was something I didn't know I would like. So having that internship experience helped me realize that I might want to be a teacher someday.
That's awesome. And just so you know, the amount of coding I know compared to you is about that much. So it's all good though. So I'm gonna go to Mr. Bell here in a moment, but I'm gonna answer a question that got typed to me was, do any of the computer classes substitute for a foreign language for college? To be honest, that's kind of out of our control. That's up to ISB and College Board to kind of figure out for us. I personally think that, like Trent just talked, being able to learn those programs is very, very valuable. But at this time, that is just where we're at. So we'll see if that changes in the future. All right, Mr. Bell, how can a high school student begin to prepare for a career in your field?
I mean, I think this is, largely, what we've talked about, right? The certifications are definitely what people are looking for, right? When I repost one of our job openings, I am saying, A+ certification or equivalent, right? And I mean, that's when I am, posting a entry level networking position, it's Network Plus or equivalent, right? These are, there are specific tests, specific, milestones that you can hit that, people are going to be looking for, right? And going to school, going to 4-year school for some disciplines is awesome, but a lot of this is really, demonstrate what you know via the various certifications. And CompTIA is a great way to do that. Cisco has what, 7, 8 certifications and sub certifications in sort of a stratified structure. You can take like 9 semesters of essentially Cisco networking, right? And just that. And if you can graduate, if you can pass the Cisco what is it, certified VoIP engineer, you can pretty much write your own ticket anywhere, right? And that's a really hard certification to get, right? You have to know a lot of stuff for that. But that is demonstrating to people in an industry agreed upon way that I know what I'm talking about, right? And so this industry is much more show me what you know, not show me a piece of paper that says that a professor might think that maybe you know something about this discipline.
Oh, awesome there. You answered what I was going to come up with a follow-up question, so we're good. One question that was asked was, are these classes offered in the summer session? At this time, there is not. Part of that is just scheduling, student interest, but we do offer internships and apprenticeships during the summer. So that is always an opportunity to work on those skills. But we also have to be very mindful that our teachers that teach these subjects are not the average teachers. So we got to make sure we don't burn them out as well. So it's all a balancing act there. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Mr. Durant. Can you just explain a couple or any of the dual credit partnerships we have that pertain to either cybersecurity or infotech? Or Mr. Polak, you're also welcome to hop on that too.
Yeah, I can answer that. So through the courses that Mr. Pollack and myself teach, we actually have 3 different dual credit. Well, 2. We have 2. I have 3 because I teach another class. But we have 2 different dual credit partners. So the first 2 years of our courses, which are the IT fundamentals, the A+ operating systems and hardware, and the networking, our dual credit partner is Harper. So the students will get 3 hours of credit for each one of those courses. So if they successfully complete those 4 courses, they will have 12 hours of college credit. Our 3rd year course, which is the advanced networking cybersecurity course, is actually dual credit through Moraine Valley. So Harper at the time didn't have a course that was comparable. And so Mr. Pollack and I were looking because we thought, hey, if these kids are taking these first 2 years and then the 3rd year, which is supposed to be the most difficult if they're not offering college credit. So we were able to secure that partnership with Moraine Valley, who's great. And actually that's who the apprenticeship program has been based out of as well. So the students are able to get college credit through Moraine Valley as well, through that advanced networking cybersecurity course. And then I know that at Buffalo Grove and Prospect, that there's a different type of dual credit partnership, but they also go through Moraine Valley as well. Is that right, Tom?
That's correct. As I say, and I just want to remind people that these courses do have prerequisites, meaning that there's a particular order they need to be completed in. So, for example, you're not supposed to take the A+ classes without completing the IT fundamentals. You're not supposed to take the networking and cybersecurity courses until you've completed the 2 A+ classes. So you're getting 12 hours of college credit through Harper and another 3 hours through Moraine. So a student would graduate at least from the hardware pathway with 15 hours of college credit that can transfer to just about to any university. In some cases, we've had students, so I've had a couple of students at Purdue ask me for syllabuses so that they can attempt to potentially get credit to get exempted and skip over a class at their four-year school and then move into something more advanced because they've already completed it. So it does lend itself. Any Illinois state school should accept these courses because they're coming out of a Illinois community college. If you go out of state or a private school, then it gets a little wishy-washy because they have their own rules of whether they'll accept the course or not.
And to further kind of touch on what Tom said, because of the fact that if they follow the pathway through all 4 years and they're in the apprenticeship program, the apprenticeship program does offer some different options as well to get college credit. So they could be leaving not only with that work experience, which is invaluable, like Scott said, but also with even more college credit and the potential with Tom and I to have an IT fundamentals, CompTIA IT fundamentals certificate, an A+ certificate, a network plus certificate, and a security plus certificate. So there's a lot of options there for the students.
Yeah. I saw there was a question posted that says, does the curriculum cover data science and AI and ML? Not at this time. The data science, again, we do cover a little bit of database concepts early in IT fundamentals. I do know that there is a conversation being had at Harper to start to explore, potentially starting next fall, a cybersecurity associate's degree, a AI associate's degree, and cloud computing associate's degree. That would be taking place at Harper. So if those courses and content and degrees actually happen, then these students that take our courses will have a leg up and have already completed some of the basic coursework for some of those areas already.
Great to know. I didn't even know that was happening. All right. So the last question, and we're going to kind of run through everyone on this one. But we'll start with our students. We'll start with Trent. Really, what is the advice you would give to yourself? And again, everyone's lens is going to be a little different, but this always seems to take about 10 or 15 minutes. So I want to be mindful. What would you give your advice to a lot of incoming freshmen on here or freshmen, to freshman Trent about the pathway?
I believe you should take an introductory course on what you're interested and then apply for an internship when you turn 16. I really believe that you should take the software first and then go into the hardware so you can understand what happens behind the backbone when you enter the physical entity.
Thank you. Same question to Henderson. What would you say to yourself, younger you, about the pathway and any advice you could give to yourself?
Well, maybe if I could tell myself some years ago, maybe I would just say to try to figure first what you would like to do as soon as you graduate. Because as we talked before and in this meeting and this presentation, is more of you want to choose something that you will really use later, or that you want to experience to be sure you want to do this, and have a lot of knowledge into that. So once you know and you have an idea, hey, maybe I want to do this, just try to figure people that could give you the right information. And, even if you have the counselors, there are really people for you that you can reach out to them and ask all of, these things where they can get you faster to the path you want to be.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. So let's make it as hard as possible on our teachers because Mr. Drentz keeps smiling at me. Mr. Bell, what would your recommendation for a high school student going in? What's advice you would give to them?
I think that one of the things that I think I continue to rail against and recommend to people the most is that we see increasing siloing And the people who are really the most successful are the people who are multidisciplinary, right? If you only know one language, you can only apply for jobs in that one programming language, right? If you only know the security for routers, you can't help with wireless. You can't, right? And that's, just technical, right? The fact is that if you, if you are in a variety of disciplines, if you take math, if you take science, if you take art, right, that those things are going to help you also, because particularly in IT, in support, in systems management, in security, you have to understand what people do and what they are trying to do. And if you can't understand what the design group is trying to do, right, you don't have to know everything about design, but if you don't know what Photoshop is, do you know that the program is secure, right? That sort of thing. So you are really benefited by studying several of these things, and within the scope of the tracks, right, by all means pursue cybersecurity if that is the most interesting thing to you, but take some stuff in the IT fundamentals, in the A plus, take some stuff in math and science, take some stats classes, right? Stats classes are your introduction to data science anyway, right? That is the basis of data science. And so, but the fact is that if somebody asks you to go do a security audit, you're going to end up with a big table of logs and information. You're going to have to be able to process that information, which is like Excel skills and data science skills. And so being multidisciplinary is tremendously helpful, because unfortunately the schools, the colleges are really largely focusing on depth, not breadth. And high school is a great opportunity to see that more broadly. And it doesn't necessarily, I don't think it puts you at a disadvantage. It doesn't pay off in the first job that you get. But even in my own organization, as I'm hiring people, as we see people who do that, the people who become managers, the people who become team leads, are the people who can talk to more people, who can understand more broadly, who can talk across a wider degree of disciplines and areas of expertise. And that's not necessarily that they're expert in all of them, but they can communicate with more groups. And so I would very strongly encourage everybody to really look at the multidisciplinary approach. You can focus on this, but take some other classes, do some other things that are peripheral, that are of other interest.
Awesome. I'll give the teachers another moment here. Just one question that's come up a couple times is if you're traveling to another building, how does that work? So what we will generally try to do, and this is not a super clean process because each building builds their schedules at separate times, and it just requires us communicating very well with one another. But we will actually try to schedule, if we know it's a class that kids travel for commonly, at the start or the end of the day. And then before that, we'll generally have either lunch or a study hall. Again, a lot of that is still pending, depending on kind of what the bell schedule looks like for next year, but we try to minimize as much disruption as possible to the student school day. So
I can jump on that a little bit too. I get students from other schools, and what we do is we kind of offer some of our courses back to back. So there are often times where we have students that come over from Elk Grove where they'll take both courses, like first block and then second block. And because they're taking them back to back, usually if they have to get back to school, I'll kind of release them a little bit early. The nice thing is that we're on the block schedule. And so we have time, but that's kind of how they've been able to do it. So those students are actually getting, two of the courses, well, actually 2 years of the courses done in 1 year, sometimes, if they have interest.
yeah. And to piggyback on that, I didn't even know that's the way you did it, but we get we get crafty when we have to try to make sure as many of these happen as possible. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say that Mike does it with 1-2. I have students that come over from BG and Wheeling, and we'll actually have them schedule the first period of each day. So the first and fifth periods. So they're just used to coming to Wheeling to start their day, and then they have their transportation that gets them back for the next 3 blocks of the schedule. So it can be done a lot of different ways.
yeah. All right, Mr. Drentz, we'll go to you. What is best advice you would give to these incoming students? And then if anyone has any questions, please type them. We only got a few more minutes.
Sure. You know, the one thing I would say, and everybody kind of touched on it. Scott touched on it. Tom touched on it. Turth and Henderson touched on it, is try to do it as much as possible. I know having high school students, you know, myself, you know, their schedules are pretty crowded, but, you know, try to do those extracurricular activities if you get a chance. You know, look into internships and apprenticeships to see if, you know, you might completely think that you're focused on the, you know, the IT or the cyber field, and you get an internship or an apprenticeship and you're like, man, I don't want to do this. But I think, you know, there's so many opportunities that District 214 provides for students, and is try to take advantage of as many as possible, so that you can kind of see and help yourself kind of figure out what you want to do.
All right, same question to you, Mr. Pollock, and then we'll see if there's any other last comments. So any advice?
Absolutely. I agree. Continue to explore. The Cyber Patriot and the National Cyber League are great ways to kind of try things out. The National Cyber League has something called a gymnasium, where you're just given these problems, and you have 2 to 3 months to play with them and try and figure them out. You don't get any help. You just have to figure them out. A lot of this stuff is for those go-getter kids. I even take things another step with some of my students is through the Cisco's NetAcad, they offer another 40 or 50 classes. And so a lot of those classes I can basically make available to students, and they're self-directed, meaning that the students can work through them at their own pace. They don't need me to forward them through, or I can turn on a quiz here or there, and they can be introductions to Python, you know, so some basic programming language. They can be advanced concepts in cloud computing. They can be in some other areas that maybe you have some curiosity on that might lead to some more exploration that you choose to take. So just like everybody has said, look, District 214 has so many different programs, so many different opportunities. It's just a matter of asking teachers, asking the counselors to get yourself in the classes, and then you never know where it may take you.
Well, awesome. And again, it wouldn't be fitting if this group didn't lead us to our next connection here is if you want access to the entire District 214 academic pathway book, it is located on District 214's website under academics, and then the academic programs and pathways guidebook. It's also linked on each of the District 214 individual schools' websites. So if there's not any last comments by our panel, I really appreciate your guys' time tonight, and everyone's time for hopping on here and listening to us.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Take care.
All right. Please reach out if you guys have any questions, and otherwise, have a great night.